There is one way that you can check if someone is Australian, and that is to see if they talk about some sort of reptile. So that's how you know Allday is Australian, because they talk about baby spiders or sing about it.
That's pretty good. I will say a spider is not a reptile, though. It's an insect, isn't it?
Same thing. That's what I meant.
Yeah, some sort of large
Same thing.
creature. Yeah.
Something you don't want to come across, pretty much. Host as usual, David, joined by my co-host,
Brandon, as usual.
That's right. And this week we are talking about how much we hate each other. Not each other.
Well,
the things we chose for each other.
I don't know. Well, we may divulge into personal attacks later if this is going to go as poorly as I think it will. Yes. So this is episode 2, I guess, in our series of picking something that we think the other person is going to hate. Last year, we did 100 gecs and we did Sexy Beast. Mm-hmm. Both of those ended up being our least favorite thing of the season.
Yeah.
So we figured we had to run it back this year.
It also wasn't intentional last year, but we are making it an intentional thing. Not as much, yes.
Yeah, we were like, we should pick something that's really weird, is how we approached it last time. Now, this season, we were like, we should pick something we're going to hate that we like. So, not to spoil it, David likes Brazil. I like Speeding by Allday. But we don't think the other person will.
That's right.
I don't know. I kind of think I'm right, though. I'm gonna start by saying that. I'm pretty sure you hate this album.
Yeah, I know I'm right. I think it was like 10 minutes into the movie, I was like, oh yeah, Brandon hates this. They absolutely hate it.
Well, I'm excited to talk about it, but first we have to talk about something else that we ask each other every week. And I have to ask David, what movies did you watch in this past week? Or maybe something else?
That's right, because I did watch something else. We are recording this the Wednesday after the Oscars, so we do have to discuss. I do want to ask, did you watch them?
Well, funny you ask that. I turned them on at 6:30 because I assumed they started at 7 like they're supposed to. And it turns out they started at 6 for no apparent reason.
Yep.
So I missed the first 30 minutes and I don't know what happened. And I didn't care to rewind. So I watched most of them.
Did you have any thoughts? Did you enjoy it?
I thought it was pretty poorly done, like the Grammys, like from a telecast perspective. And then I got to the end and I saw it was the same director as the Grammys, which I thought was kind of funny. We'll have to talk about the K-pop Demon Hunters songwriters being cut off, because that was insane. And then they ended up finishing early, like the telecast finished early. Like, come on.
They finished like 20 minutes early.
Yeah. They could have let him talk for another minute.
It's idiotic.
It's ridiculous.
I think that they absolutely should have. And I think they should have got rid of some other stuff. I don't know if you saw the part with the Bridesmaids cast.
I thought it was funny, but it was too long.
It was funny, but it was too long. And then the Marvel stuff, like the stuff with Robert Downey Jr. and Steve, not Steve, what's his freaking name? Chris.
Chris whatever.
Chris something.
Chris Pine, is
whatever.
It? Chris Evans.
Chris Evans, there we go.
I don't know who these people are.
Yes. Their bit was long and also not funny at all. So
correct.
I am looking forward to the day when they finally realize that the part that they should be cutting instead of people's speeches are like the jokes and bits that the presenters do. And my ideal is that they walk out, they say, these are the people that are nominated, this is who won, and that's it.
Yeah, they can make a few jokes. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, one or two.
How did you think Conan did? Because I didn't get to see the beginning of it. Was he good?
Let me phrase it like this. From a technical perspective, this was probably the worst ceremony I've seen. There were so many like mess ups and stuff like that. I was like, wow, this, like, you would think that they would know how to do this by now. That being said, at the same time, out of all the ceremonies that I've seen, this was hands down the best Oscars. And that's with me still having issues with it, obviously. But I think a large part of that is because of Conan. going into this, I am already a big fan of Conan, but I think he pulled it off because he knows how to like host something. He has experience from late night. He knows what he's doing, and he was amazing. I actually strongly recommend that you go and watch his opening because I absolutely loved it. I've already rewatched it on YouTube, and I think his monologue was very good. Honestly, if anything, I think the crowd was actually very weak because I felt like they weren't giving him a lot.
I feel like that's always the Oscars, though. Like the Golden Globes and the Grammys, the crowd's a little bit more loose and more ready to laugh, but the Oscars is always like so tight and like so uptight.
And I think that speaks to how good he is as a host, because even then he still was able to pull it off. And I think that speaks to the fact that he knows how to deal with a joke that just doesn't work with the Oscars crowd. He knows how to like save it and keep going. I will say something else that did piss me off though was the fact that they only had 2 of the best song nominees perform. That was wild to me.
Okay, I thought I missed a few of them because I was like, there's no way.
That is messed up. Either do all of them or do none of them, but don't just do like the 2 popular ones. Again, they did it to save time, but I'm like, there's other stuff that you could cut.
And then they had extra time too. Like, also, who's the lady who loses every single year in the song category?
Diane Warren.
She lost again. Yeah, she lost again this year. So I with a song about herself, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Based off of that, I said, because I went to an Oscars party that a friend of the podcast, Grace, hosted.
Shout out.
And Jennifer and I were going to dress up as Conan and Rose Byrne from the movie If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, but it didn't end up working out just because we didn't have enough time to put costumes together.
You didn't dye your hair orange.
I did
so
not.
Sad.
Hey, maybe next year. Well, actually, no, because after the telecast was over and we were talking, I decided that next year I am going to go dressed up as Diane Warren. Because I think that would be so much fun.
Nice. I like it.
Because we already know that she is going to be nominated.
Oh, for sure. And we already know she's going to lose.
Absolutely. But after that very, very long discussion about the Oscars, I'm going to kick it over to you and ask you, what have you been listening to?
I regret to inform you that it's been a lot of bad albums still, but I do have a good one. The album I listened to is called Who Are You Really by Le Youth.
Never heard of him.
It's one dude. He's from Toledo, Ohio, and he's a house producer. You may enjoy this album. However,
like
it is like a solid hour.
Oh.
So
I don't mind.
Yeah. It experiments around EDM. There's a lot of interesting things going on. It's called melodic house. I believe I've spoken about this genre before because I hate the name of it because music is melodic. So whatever. But unfortunately, we don't have a better name for this genre, so I'm going to continue to call it melodic house, but it's very nice, and I like melody, you know? So
we do know.
This was a good album. It wasn't a 4-star, so it's not going to make my list for the end of the year, which means I still only have 4 albums on it so far. This album was good, though, and I recommend it. It was a little bit long. That's why I didn't add it to my list, but a lot of these songs are very nice. So if you like house music, Who Are You Really by Le Youth. And on that note, we got to go down under. This is Speeding, the second album by Allday. Released April 21st, 2017 by 1-2 Records and released in the US on September 15th, 2017 by Ultra Records. Now, it actually was out in the US before that, but then for some reason, Ultra Records reissued it. I have no idea what that is. I don't even know the whole label issues. He's had label issues in the US forever, and now he's independent. So I guess that'll fix it, you know? It was preceded by all 3 of its singles, Sides, Raceway, and In Motion. And now I got to ask you, have you ever heard of Allday before?
Literally never.
Cool. That's what I was hoping for. Allday is the stage name of Australian rapper Thomas Gaynor. He was raised in Blackwood, South Australia, a suburb of Adelaide. He moved to Melbourne, as he says in Codeine 17, to do some drugs and become a famous rapper. He lived in LA at the time of this album's release, but I believe he's back in Australia again. He said that the name Allday comes from a dumb nickname I had as a teenager. My friend called me that because I would be talking all day to do some shit. That week, I had my first recording session, so it sort of stuck. And I think you will be able to see this from the way he talks about his music, which I have a lot of quotes. But he pursued a career in stand-up comedy before moving to music.
Oh.
Allday has said that this album is a snapshot of his life and that he wanted it to sound like winter. It's also a lot more personal than his debut album. The genres here are pop, rap, and Australian hip-hop. We have never done Australian hip-hop before, probably because there are not a lot of Australian hip-hop albums. And Aussie hip-hop rarely breaks out of its home country. He said that he grew up with Australian rap music, but that this album isn't influenced by it, which I find interesting because it does sound a lot more American, outside of the accent, of course.
Without the accent, I would not have known.
And I do have a little quote here. He was talking about one of the artists featured on this album. I feel so lucky to know Gabe, Japanese Wallpaper is his stage name, as a friend and someone to make songs with. He's a brilliant musician, and I'm a rapper who sings, so the fact that he likes my music is cool to me. I try to be around people who can teach me things, and I can keep improving as a musician and as a person. You can hear somebody's soul 10 seconds into a song. The better you get as a person, the better the songs will be. So obviously, this is the week where we find something that we think the other person will not enjoy. And because of this, what were your expectations going into this album?
I mean, I was absolutely expecting something like, 100 gecs. Not in terms of like, something that is going to be hyperpop, but I expected you to find something or choose something that you knew of that was not going to work for me on that same level. Let me put it like that.
Did you have a score in mind before going in here?
I was probably circling around like a 2, thinking like, it'll probably be somewhere there. I didn't have a super specific one in mind, though, to be honest. I was like, I'm just going to go into this with an open mind.
So this album peaked at number 6 on the Australian album chart, but did not break containment outside of his home country. I found this album back when Spotify had a team of editors that worked on every single playlist, and one of them selected the song Baby Spiders for a few playlists that I followed. And I had heard of Allday before because of his feature on Troye Sivan's album Blue Neighborhood, which we will be doing later this year, hint, hint, spoiler alert.
That's right.
And because I liked that song, I figured, why not? I'll check it out. And I ended up really liking that song, Baby Spiders, and really liking this album.
I would never have imagined that connection, to be honest.
The album was engineered by Charles Daly. It was mixed by Rob Kinelski, who also mixed Big Sean's album. That's a little connection for you. And it's mastered by Chris Athens. And now I have to tell you, your favorite song will be In Motion, and your least favorite song will be either First Light or No Saint. I said you will rate this album a 2.5. I feel like you're not going to hate it as much as 100 gecs, but I feel like you will not enjoy it.
Let's get into it.
With track number 1, First Light, written by Allday, Cam Bluff, and Francis Got Heat, produced by Francis Got Heat and Cam Bluff. I got a lot to say about a lot of these songs. I apologize. What an awesome intro. I'm sure you hated this because we immediately have effects on the vocals. Trying to gun me like JFK when I'm rolling, but I stay dodging. I'm the second shooter like Klay Thompson. That is our first basketball reference. There will be quite a few on here. So strap in.
Oh, I'm strapped in.
My first album went wood like a timber floor, he says. And Allday said that going wood means that you didn't go gold or platinum, basically saying his first album didn't sell that well. But you know what else has a timber floor? Basketball, and I'm counting that as number 2. This is the genius annotation of the outro. A common theme with Allday's post-startup cult work, that's his first album, is that deep down he believes that he is unable or afraid to love again. In this outro, Tom is comparing his heart and ability to love to a landscape that is going through a drought. Although some land can go generations without any rain, the rain usually returns. Tom has the same optimism for himself, and when the feeling that has been absent for so long returns, he will be able to truly give himself to his partner. I thought that was kind of an interesting annotation. And now, this is my favorite thing. I love when artists do this. He did a track-by-track interview of this album, so I'm going to read his little brief comment on every song on here. And this is his for First Light. This is the opening track, so it doesn't really count. Even if it's bad, people are going to keep listening until the second track. The stupidest part is when I say, I'm the second shooter like Klay Thompson. This was clearly recorded before Kevin Durant went to the Warriors. That is basketball talk for you. I'm not counting it as a basketball reference because it's in text, but know that it's very much present in his mind.
It's in the background.
And finally, I love a good outro, and it's so fun that the intro has an outro. This song shows you that he's going to rap, but it also shows restraint to go into a much calmer pop-ish song. I rated this song a 4, and I'm so curious what you think about this song.
The first note that I wrote down was, not a fan.
That
was the first thing I wrote down. That being said, my second note was that it could be a worst clash for me. So it could not work for me more than it does. But it's certainly not something that is for me, but I think there are certain elements present that I do find interesting. I do think that the part that doesn't work for me the most is the rapping, and what is often the case is that the vocals, even when Allday's not rapping, don't work for me too well. But I think there is a lot of interesting stuff going on in the production. So you were kind of right that this would work for me a little bit better than something like gecs, but I mean, this song is still a 2.5. So,
okay, not too bad.
And I will say, it is not my least favorite, though.
So I guess No Saint is still a potential one. But I also wrote, I'll spoil it right now. I wrote down this could be your least favorite song on almost every one of these. So we'll see. I
mean, yeah, that tracks. We'll see where it goes.
I'll just keep guessing. If it ends up being later in the album, I'll just guess every single song. We'll see.
Yeah.
But we got to get through a few other ones first.
I mean, that's what I'm going to do for the movie. I'm going to guess that it's going to be anywhere from a 0 to a 2.5.
Okay, cool.
That's what I'm going to do.
I like that. You would be correct. I'll spoil it right now that it is somewhere in that range.
See.
Track number 2, In Motion, featuring Japanese Wallpaper, written by Allday and Japanese Wallpaper, and produced by Japanese Wallpaper. This song was certified gold in Australia.
Oh, wow.
And it was ranked number 44 on Triple J's Hottest 100 of 2017. Now, Triple J is a radio station owned by the Australian government geared towards young people. Oh. And the Hottest 100 is a fan-voted list of the best songs of the year. A lot of them often are Australian artists because this radio station places a huge responsibility on introducing regular Australians to musicians from Australia. So a lot of the times it gives them a great place to kind of break out. But it is very cool that a lot of Australian artists have this tool essentially that they can get their music played for other people and they get support.
Right.
Each year it gets voted on by a significant portion of the Australian populace. We're talking maybe 3 million out of the 26 million people that live in Australia. So this is a big achievement.
That is very high.
So shout out, number 44. I think this song has a great opening line. Haunting the city, crash with your homies, chain smoking rollies, and they're all in love with you. Another great line from here. You think you're clever? No, baby, you're just smart. I've always loved that one. Now, The Weeknd. You ever heard of him? He's an artist. He tweeted, "The Grammys remain corrupt. You owe me, my fans, and the industry transparency," after he wasn't nominated for any awards at the 2021 Grammy ceremony. Allday quote tweeted this and said, "This, but at the Arias for never nominating me. I said Coca-Cola Areola in a song and I didn't win a stupid aria. Corrupt." I think that's a great tweet. I don't think it's real. Some people have interpreted that as being real, but he does say that line on this song. It's kind of strange, but who knows? The ARIA Awards are Australia's Grammys, essentially. Did you notice Coca-Cola Areola? I
did, and I honestly thought that I'd just misheard.
That's what I thought the first few times I heard this song too.
I was like, that's interesting.
No one else is saying it though. You got to respect that.
That's true. They should just name an award after that line.
Hey, maybe that's what we have to do.
Yes, that's going to be for our season 2 award ceremony.
Exactly. We're locking it in right now.
Yeah.
Allday said about this song, "See, here we are at track 2, and we've forgotten all about track 1 because the production is so lush, and I'm in hyper-exaggerated romantic Allday mode. TM." And I have another quote from him here. I made In Motion with Japanese Wallpaper. He's a genius and a very sweet, gentle person, just like his music. After he began the instrumentation, it took me a long time to write the lyrics. I mean, months. I would just leave it and then something would happen and I wouldn't know it could go in the song. So basically, the song had to happen in real life before it happened in the song. When it came time to record, I still hadn't written the little pre-chorus rap part, but that came to me like a lightning bolt. Unsealed, congealed, holy shit, nobody ever says congealed. And that's when I knew I had an okay song. And I wrote, not just an okay song, this is actually my second favorite song on this album, and it is my first perfect 5 of season 2.
Wow,
what did you think?
That's crazy. I just want to say, I love how he's talking about how like everything was amazing, came together, only to be like, yeah, it all came together, is perfect for an okay song.
Yeah, I love the way he talks about his music, and I feel like he's just such an interesting person in general because he is a former comedian and he's quite funny.
I mean, I do feel like you can see the former comedian-ness come out in the music.
For sure, yeah. Was this your favorite?
The opening was very promising. Not at all what I expected to hear for the second song. I also realized he was Australian with this song. With this song, you can see how the production works better than the vocals for me, because the production honestly works really well for me with this song. And I feel like even with songs that I did not like, the production is always interesting, which I do really like. That was not the case here because I feel like this song did work better for me. It wasn't a case of I don't like the song, but the production is interesting. It was a case of I actually like the production and it's making me actually enjoy this song. I do feel like a big reason why is because there's also no rapping in the song, or like less rapping in the song. And I will say the vocals are still the part that don't work for me very well, but on the strength of the production, this is a 3, and it's my favorite in the album.
Let's go.
Yeah.
This is the crowd pleaser song. I mean, there's a reason this one charted on the Hot 100 or Hottest 100.
And this is a perfect example of the Bruce Springsteen effect to me because, you know, I feel like this song is the most different when compared to the rest of the songs on the album. And I do wonder if a part of that is Japanese Wallpaper's contribution.
I was hoping for a 3.5, but that's okay. I can live with it. I do love this song, and I think part of the reason I love it is because of the vocals as well, because they are like, they're not perfect. And I almost like that more because it, like, I don't know, that's almost like a Bob Dylan kind of thing where it's like, yeah, he's not the best singer, but you feel the emotion in it. I don't like Bob Dylan, so not a great example for me, but I like this. So
I do feel like ultimately the vocals are what keeps it from going higher. But I mean, I could see this eventually going to the 3.5. It would still be a very low 3.5 though. But yeah, definitely more positive than the 100 gecs. I don't think I ever went above a 2.5 in that album.
I don't know if you even went to a 2.5. It might have just been 2.
True.
Actually, I have a memory coming back to me that I think you gave a 2.5 to I Need Help Immediately, which is the song that's not even a song. It's just like a collection of sounds.
I mean,
I feel like that
would make sense.
Anyway.
That would make a lot of sense.
Track number 3, 10 Drinks, written by Allday, James Hamley, and Mitch Gronke, produced by James Hamley and Mitch Gronke. I don't know if that's how you say his name, so my apologies. It also is probably said with an Australian accent, which I do not have. There are 2 firsts in this song. A Kevin Spacey reference in a song, and vocals by Siri. I don't think either of those have happened on the podcast before. Shots on shots like AI. No, this is not artificial intelligence. This is Allen Iverson, swooping in for basketball reference number 3. I feel like in song 3, we're really starting to see the main themes of the album: loneliness, substance abuse, and reminiscing on the good old days. I also find it interesting that he said it's a winter album because I do feel like it feels quite cold, but there are these moments of like, it could be a summer night too, where it's like end of summer, maybe end of summer. I might be onto something. This came out in April, which is like November for Australians. I think that's how it works.
Right.
The seasons are reversed, but then it also came out right before summer in the US, which is kind of interesting.
I mean, to me, it does feel like a summer album.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know.
I can see that. I can see both summer and winter, which is why I often put it in like fall and spring playlists because it's like cold, but you can feel like a sort of change into something else. I also got to shout out the piano on this song. Love it.
Shout out.
Allday said about this song, I was listening to Tom Waits. On Oi 55, he sings, "Riding with Lady Luck, freeway cars and trucks." I like that lyric, so I thought it'd be interesting for me to be on an overpass watching the cars and trucks whiz by. Is that stealing? Maybe. I think it's an ode, but you be the judge. And we get a nice long outro here with an Uber driver telling us about how he saw demons in the club, man, which is kind of fun. I gave the song a 4.
With this song, I noticed something where we kind of talked about how there's a lot of rap out there that is just boring because it's like the same thing, which I mean exists in every single genre. And it's interesting because with that type of rap, I feel like when I listen to it, it's not that I don't like hearing it, it's that I just get kind of bored because it's all feels the same. I'm not calling this slop, but it is reminiscent of that because I do feel like I would just like, this is making me think of like, I don't know.
Big Sean.
Kind of.
Kanye West.
A little bit.
Any of the other rappers we've done
Australian
on here.
twist.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of would just like, again, the vocals definitely don't work for me. But I also feel like maybe the production was just not as interesting to me with this song. It's a 2.5.
Trap drums as well.
Oh yeah, that's probably why.
That's a lot of these songs. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, 2.5. That's not, I don't know. That's not terrible.
It's not terrible. And I think that goes to the point that I wasn't like turn this off. Like I'm mad at this. I was just like, I'm so bored and I just don't, I'm done.
Good, I guess.
Well, better than please turn this off because I'm going to go insane. So
that's what I'm probably going to have to do next year, unfortunately.
Oh God.
But we'll see. We'll get there. Track number 4, No Saint. Written by Allday, Cam Bluff, and James Hamley. Produced by James Hamley and Cam Bluff. Young drunk Australian, I'm going Russell Crowe on you. I do not know anything about Russell Crowe, so I will let you make the final decision on if we should shout him out or not.
Well, I'm trying to think of like problematic stuff he's done. I just don't know enough about him.
I assume he's drunk based on that bar.
Maybe. If there's any like problematic Australian you want to shout out, that's Mel Gibson. But I don't know what.
Mel Gibson's Australian?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
I never knew that. I thought he was just racist.
Well, he is, but
yeah, cool.
He's racist, homophobic, I think sexist. But I can't think of anything that Russell Crowe did. I don't know. Maybe he...
Okay, so I guess we'll shout him out then.
Oh, God. This is going to come back to bite us if he did do something, though. But no, I think we're fine. We're fine. He seems chill from everything that I've heard.
Cool.
Chat out.
In My Room, Pacing Like Indiana. That is basketball reference number 4 on here, Indiana Pacers. And Allday wrote in the annotation on Genius that it's basketball reference number 1153 for the chubby boy. That's what he calls himself, Allday Chubby Boy. I don't know why. That's his Instagram handle, though. Shout out.
Huh.
Smoking Hazy Until We Get McGrady Eye. That is a reference to Tracy McGrady and basketball reference number 5. Allday's quote about this song. I think the 16-year-old bong heads will really like this one, and that's an important market for me. This is a much trappier sounding song, which makes me think that you will hate it more than a lot of the others. I still think it's quite solid, and I gave it a 3.5. Is this your least favorite song? Because this was the other one that I thought could be.
This is not.
Ooh, it gets worse.
But the things that I have to say about this song are kind of just the same things that I have to say about the last song. I do feel like this song does work less for me. It's a lower 2.5, but it's still a 2.5. Yeah, I don't have much to add. I was kind of just like, yeah, I'm just here. I'm just present. But I will say, at this point, I was kind of like, did Brandon choose something on purpose that I would like a little bit more than 100 gecs? Or
I tried to not torture you as much as 100 gecs, but I still wanted it to be something where you're like, okay, yeah, I don't like this.
I went the total opposite direction.
Oh yeah,
I was like,
we'll talk
I'm
about
gonna
it
torture this person as much as I possibly can. Anyways, we'll get there.
Track number 5, Ghost, written by Allday, Cam Bluff, and KGW Beats, produced by KGW Beats and Cam Bluff. I think that this is a good song, although I like the chorus and pre-chorus a lot more than the verses for some reason. I think that this one is more of a solid 3.5, where No Saint is more like a 3.75. So, not to spoil my score, but it is a 3.5. 70% of me is Cheetos and Monster Energy. That's some white trash chemistry. That's a bar for you. Just going to leave that one there for you.
Sounds like an artist right there.
Exactly. And this is the part where I should mention, because I didn't before, that Australian hip hop is mostly white people, which is interesting and different than hip hop in a lot of other countries where it's usually black artists.
Right.
But it's mostly white people in Australia. I don't fully know why, but there is also a subset of indigenous Australians that make hip hop, the most notable of those being the Kid Laroi. Smoke more weed when the weed got me anxious. I like that line. Another theme that I noticed throughout this album, and something that I find really important when songwriting, is that the last line of a verse leads into the chorus, or in this case, the pre-chorus. The two lines here that do that are, "I'm not sure what this hole is I grew inside," and "I thought you saw me, but I'm invisible, spiritual, ethereal, nothing that you'd feel at all." Both of these are great lines that wrap up the feeling of the verse before we hear about how he feels like a ghost. And from Allday, "Ghost is dope. Maybe that's because I recorded it last and I'm not quite sick of it yet. This is my attempt at a country song, talking about sitting around and being sad. I was watching a documentary on some country singer and I heard someone say, all of a sudden you're cruising along at 75 beats per minute. And I was like, hey, that beat I have is 75 beats per minute. Maybe I should write a country song on it." I don't think this is a country song necessarily. It is a trap song, but it's interesting that that's where his inspiration came from. This one is a 3.5 for me. Do you like this one less? I didn't write down that I think you're going to hate this one as much as the other, so I'm not going to lock that in yet.
This song worked a little bit better for me. And we're going to have a little tiny run of slightly more positive songs.
Oh.
And that also comes down to the production. Now, it's still a 3. It's still,
That's not that bad, though.
Yeah, it's like barely over the line, but it's still over the line. Yeah, I think the production, like I said before, is just really well done and interesting to me, that it kind of helps me forget about the parts I don't like as much and makes me enjoy it a little bit, which I was not expecting. I thought that it would all be 2.5s and 2s.
Let's go.
We will get there, but this is a 3.
Track number 6, Raceway. Written by Allday, Cam Bluff, and Mitch Gronke. Produced by Cam Bluff and Mitch Gronke. The more I say it, the more I feel like I'm saying his name wrong. "I think my life is as stupid as it sounds." I love that line. Same. 3 examples of great last lines before the chorus. "If I love her, I shall never mention it." "You play pretend like I'm barely a memory." And "roaring that engine, ignoring my texts." I think you'll hate this song as well, and it could be another candidate for your least favorite, especially because of the pitch down vocals in the post-chorus. Now I know that we actually might have a little bit of a run here, though, so I'm going to retract that statement, even though I feel like this is a very trappy song.
Yeah.
However, I think that this is a standout song on the album. And Allday's quote about this song: "It took me forever to get the chorus perfect on this. The high harmony is actually slightly different on all the choruses. I can't even hear the differences anymore, but I know it took us a whole day in the studio, so I had to tell someone. All this information about mixing and recording is probably super boring to read. Basically, this track by track has become an essay of me criticizing my album now. I would still give it 4 stars, FYI. And that's what I gave this song. This is 4 stars for me. I like this song.
The chorus is what really interested me with this song. I have a lot of issues with the verses. I think they are very, very flat, honestly. And they felt quite weak to me. But the chorus was really interesting and actually kind of kept me... it kept me interested in the song as a whole and kept it at a 3. It's a lower 3 for sure, but I don't know. Again, the production is just really interesting to me. I do think I'm definitely viewing these songs more as an interesting song that I want to look at and kind of study versus something that I just want to put on to enjoy. But I think that's also a valid way to approach something too. So I'm not mad at it.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm glad there's some 3s on here. I wasn't fully expecting that. I was thinking In Motion would be the only song that you liked enough to rate above a 2.5.
Big surprise.
Yeah, very big surprise.
I mean, I was also kind of surprised. And who knows, maybe in a year I'll come back to this and be like, what the fuck was I thinking? But
no, it's only going up from here. There. Just like 100 gecs, it's only going up from here.
Yeah, 100 gecs, 5.
Exactly. Someday, maybe I'll get to a 5 there too. I was pretty close. Track number 7, Codeine 17, featuring Gracelands. Written by Allday, Amela DeHurrick, Cam Bluff, James Hamley, Mitch Gronke, and Nelson Dialect, and produced by Cam Bluff and James Hamley. Shout out to Little Caesars Pizza. That has to be the first time we have mentioned it on this podcast.
Wild.
He worked as a pizza boy. He's mentioned it, I think, 3 times in the album, but he says Caesars specifically. And then in his Genius annotation, he has a Google Maps Street View screenshot of the Little Caesars that he worked at in Blackwood outside of Adelaide. So shout out.
Hell yeah.
Maybe if I ever go to Australia, I'll go to that Little Caesars. The random other dude in this song is Nelson Dialect, who's also a rapper and a longtime friend of Allday's. He said Nelson was talking about a specific rap battle that they went to in high school in his 4 lines that he has. I feel like this song is honestly kind of a vibe, and it could be your least favorite too. I did a great job picking this album I wrote. But now that I'm thinking about it, this might be a 3 too. Who knows? Also, shout out to Gracelands. I'm not sure that she has done anything else after this, but her voice is great, and I think her contribution to the song is very good. And Allday's quote about this song. The lyrics for the chorus were originally 18 wanna die, not 18 won't die. But when Graceland sung it, the syllables just didn't fit. 18 won't die vaguely makes sense too, so whatever. I recall the shaker/hi-hat thing in the second half of the verses was the subject of much debate. We must have made 10 different versions of this beat. Shout out to Cam Bluff and Mitch Gronke for dealing with that. Cam isn't even returning my text right now, so it would be fair to say he's sick of my bullshit. I gave this song a 3.5.
I mean, look, the rap sections really don't work for me here. The production, again, though, does kind of come through. This song, honestly, I was stuck between a 2.5 and a 3. Ultimately, I feel like I'm on my positive side today because I'm keeping this at a 3. I feel like I don't have much to add after a certain point to this discussion. And I will say, we are at the end of my more positive streak, sadly.
I still got a lot of great things to say. Track number 8, North Melbourne. Written by Allday, Cam Bluff, Jonathan David Buck, and Zach Aum. Produced by Zach Aum and Cam Bluff. Wearing all black, rest in peace, Jonah Lomu. You guessed it. This is not a basketball reference. Jonah Lomu is a rugby player from New Zealand. So wanted to just throw that one out there because I didn't know who he was, and rest in peace to him. I love the fact that he pitched down the vocals in the bridge because you can somehow hear his accent even more. I do not understand how that happens.
Wild.
Now, I told you that there was one song on this album that I did not like. Mm-hmm. And I wrote down, I used to hate this song, and it's still my least favorite, but it is actually pretty good. I could definitely see it growing on me even more. I think that was helped by the fact that I haven't listened to it in probably like 4 or 5 years. And from Allday, the best part of this song is in the pitch down part at the end. I sing, we go together like chips and seagulls in the sand with rubbish and needles. Not sure why I pitched it down because now nobody will understand it and I won't get the praise that I so deeply crave. At least I've mentioned it here. I rated this song a 3. It is my least favorite, but I don't know. It was better than I remember. And I told you that I didn't like one of the songs on here, and I actually do like this song, and I ended up adding it back to some playlists, so I could see it going up a little bit. Is this your least favorite?
This is not my least favorite still.
Okay, interesting.
When I heard this song, I was like, yeah, this is a song that I'm not at all interested in. And I wrote this note that I kind of brought up earlier, but this feels to me like the same bland rap that kind of populates the pop culture stratosphere that like doesn't touch an artist like Kendrick or something like that. This kind of brings that to mind.
David is never beating the hating rap allegations.
Oh my God. I literally mentioned that like there's a difference between that type of rap and the rap that, you know, from someone like Kendrick or something like that. There's a difference. That's my point. Yeah, I feel like that just slots into that more for me compared to for someone else. This is a 2.5. Again, I feel like I was just more like bored than I was hating. I didn't want to punch any walls, so that's good.
That's a different emotion than 100 gecs, which is good.
Yes.
We're expanding. We're growing. Track number 9, Sides, featuring 9. I never even realized until reading it right now that the artist's name is 9 and it's track number 9. Don't know how that never crossed my mind. Anyway, written by Allday, Cam Bluff, and 9, and produced by 9 and Cam Bluff.
I'm also waiting for track 9 Theory somehow, either one version of Track 9 Theory.
We will see. No hit records on my demo. No talent. This is effort. I like that line. Kind of goes back to what he said in First Light, too. My first album went wood. Nobody gave a shit about it, and now I'm trying harder. I kind of like that. It's like, he's always going to keep striving. It's a good thing to remember. This is an Allday quote. I have quite a few here. Ray of Light is my favorite song by Madonna, after Like a Prayer. This line connects to the last line about Madonna. I'm calling Donatello, Jesus' mum, Madonna, and pop star Madonna, and myself, visionaries. He says, but if that's their disses for me, I do not feel disrespected. I just feel young, wealthy, kind of handsome, independent. The annotation of this line is, these are the things I tell myself in the mirror when I'm bummed out. Ha ha ha. He mentions Oscar Pistorius in this song, which I'm going to guess is the only time that Oscar Pistorius has ever been mentioned in a song. Absolutely insane shout out there.
Damn.
He also says, the New Delhi, I'll cross you up. Based on a comment on Genius, I'm going to guess that this is a reference to Matthew Dellavedova, an Australian basketball player, which means that is basketball reference number 6. I do enjoy when this song goes minor for the final chorus, and he says super angrily, never fucking switch sides. I think that's pretty fun. That's one of my favorite things to quote along to the album as I'm singing along to it. And the final quote from Allday's track-by-track interview. Sides was something I wrote quickly, intending to put out as a throwaway. Then, I guess I didn't have that many good songs because people convinced me to put it out as a single. My favorite thing on this track is there are some good rhymes in it, like the stuff about sculpting stone like Donatello of the Clouds, visionary. Madonna of the Clouds is the name of one of Donatello's sculptures. It's also the one we used on the cover art of Raceway. Insert cheeky emoji here. I rated this song a 4. This is not Track 9 Theory because my favorite song comes later. But I do really like this song, and it's one I return to often. So I guess in a way it is kind of Track 9 Theory because this is one of the standouts of the album for me. Do you hate this song? Is this your least favorite?
I did not choose a specific least favorite, but this is in the running.
Okay.
This is in the running. This is also part of like a bigger discussion for me with the second half of this album because I feel like the second half of this album leans more into rap.
The whole album is pretty rap. I think this is just... it leans into something you don't like. I think maybe you just don't like the songs, which is fine.
I'll put it like that. It leans into a style that I don't like, that doesn't work for me, especially when it comes to the production versus the first half where the production was the part that was keeping me interested.
Interesting.
And that makes like the second half of the album a lot weaker to me. Yeah, this song did not work for me at all. It's a 2. It could be my least favorite. But there's another song that could also be my least favorite. And I honestly did not choose.
I'm going to guess it's the next one.
We'll see.
Track number 10, Spill My Blood, written by Allday and Gully Chaps, produced by Gully Chaps in Camp Bluff. You know that I'll be back, like that Austrian. I have been listening to this song for 9 years, and now I have seen that movie, and I fully understand the reference, so I wanted to shout that out. Can't believe the doctor delivered this monster. The moment I was born should have choked me with the cord. What an insane line. I really love it because it's just like, holy shit.
That's wild. That is really crazy.
I don't have a ton to say about this song. I did not like it that much when I first heard it, but it's grown on me the most of any song on here, and now it's one of my most streamed ones.
Did it grow more for you than the song that you didn't like and now is a 3?
Oh yeah, this song was originally a 2.5 when I heard it.
Oh,
and to spoil it, it is now a 4.
Yeah, that's a big growth.
Allday's quote about this: Spill My Blood is about sneaking into your ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend's house and cutting your wrists in his kitchen. It's not something I've done, and I don't usually like making songs about things that didn't happen, but this felt very natural to make. It didn't feel like I was inventing anything, so maybe it's within my capabilities. What an incredible quote.
That is so dark.
Yeah, this song's a 4 for me. I really like it. Is this your least favorite?
Look, to me, this song feels like the last 2 songs, but slowed down and more drawn out. Probably because it's also longer.
He also sings more in this song, which I thought you would hate. And it's a trap beat,
You know what? I'm going to designate it as my least favorite song. It's a 2. Currently, I could see it going down, though, in the future to 1.5.
Ooh, okay.
Because
cool.
This just did not work for me. These 2 songs are definitely the low point for me, though. So I will say better than 100 gecs because I haven't officially gone below a 2.
Much better. And we got 2 final songs that you've already alluded are going to be better than a 2. So I'm excited about that. We got track number 11, Baby Spiders, featuring Mallrat, written by Allday, Henry Fecky, and Mallrat, and produced by Fecky. I am actually going to start with Allday's comment on this song. I like this song. It's just fucking good. It's produced by Fecky, who I think is going to be hugely famous soon. I didn't have a chorus. I had 3 or so shitty ones that I sent to Mallrat, and she just wrote her own and sent it back. So we have Fecky and Mallrat to thank for this one. And the only thing I wrote about this song, I've always wanted to write a movie or TV show that makes people feel the way I feel about this song. It's the perfect coming-of-age song, and it goes in the playlist titled Songs I Wish I Wrote. I could say so many different things about the different pieces of it, but I will leave it with this. You Are Everything. This is a 5, and this is my favorite song on the album. This is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Damn, that's high. I honestly would not have expected 2 5s. Also a very fun name.
Yeah, I chose this album because I was like, I like it, and I know that I'm never going to be able to convince you to do it knowing, like if you know it's Australian rap. So, perfect episode to do it on.
That's a good point. But let me just first say, very Australian title. This song was really interesting to me because it honestly feels like a mix of the 2 styles that I feel like kind of exist in the album. The style from the first half that works better for me and the style from the second half that doesn't really work. It also has like so many twists and turns within the song that I wasn't expecting. There were like several times where I thought the next song had started and I went and checked and it was still the song. I do think that ultimately it is too long and it doesn't like get there all the way for me because, like I said, we do have elements of the second style that just don't work for me, but I do think that it is a little bit stronger than some of the other songs with the same rating that I'm going to give to this song. Even if it just doesn't get all the way there for me, I think there is some interesting stuff going on. So that's why it's a higher 2.5.
Exactly half of my score. Yeah, I love this song. This is probably going to remain one of my favorite songs of the year on the entire podcast. Like looking ahead at all the albums we're going to do, there's a lot of good stuff that we have coming up, but this is a very special song to me. And it is also interesting that this was the first song I heard by him. And then I was kind of like, whoa.
That is interesting.
This is the best. But we have one last one that I think is also quite good.
Let's go.
Track number 12, Ultramarine, also featuring Mallrat. Written by Allday and Cam Bluff and produced by Cam Bluff and Mitch Gronke. Once again, I'm going to start with Allday's quote about this song. Ultramarine is about a blue night sky. Then the first song on the album is called First Light. So if you put the album on repeat, it's almost like the night ending and a new day beginning. Would you look at that and think, he's thought of everything? I also believe outro songs don't count. So I just went with a stream of consciousness trip through life with no drums because drums are for real songs and an outro isn't a real song. Then we put drums at the very end just because. And the snare is dope. Probably my favorite snare on the album. And I am going to end my comments on the last song of the album by saying, read the lyrics of this one. I know it's hard to understand his accent all the time. It's one of the most personal songs that he's ever done. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. And of course, shout out to Mallrat for being on 2 of the 3 best songs on this album. This is a perfect 5 and one of my favorite album closers of all time.
Wow.
3 5s.
That's crazy.
Boom.
Yeah, so we're back, I will say, to the style that just does not really work for me. Not a fan of the vocal manipulations either. Not for me. It's too slow in my opinion. It's not as low as the 2 songs I gave 2s to because it's still a 2.5, but it's a very low 2.5. I could see this going down to a 2. But yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I didn't have much to say about most of the songs, to be honest. But I will say, more positive experience than 100 gecs for me. So there is that. And would you like to hear my overall score? Or would you like to go first?
I would like to hear your overall score. I said it was a 2.5. I'm feeling pretty good about that.
You were right. It is a 2.5.
Let's go.
Yeah,
okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was definitely, it's something that's not for me and something I won't be revisiting. But it could have been a lot worse. And I do think that the fact that there were songs that actually interested me when it came to their production deserves some kudos. Because you chose very well, I think.
First thing I wrote is I love this album. I'm not sure if I've talked at length on here about my thoughts on albums. I love them as an art form, and I think that they're the best way to listen to and to release music. And yet, they are not the typical way that I listen to music. This is partly because the two genres that I really like, pop and hip hop, are not very good at having consistent albums. But this is one of those special albums that really stands out for me. And this is a 4.
Wow.
I love this album. It's very special. And it's kind of insane because, you know, Australian hip hop is not something that I listen to or really like know much about. Like I could probably name 4 artists total, which is more than the average American, because most people won't even know that Iggy Azalea is actually from Australia because she rapped in an American accent the whole time. So,
see, no idea.
Yeah, very strange. This is a very special album to me. I found it in high school, which, you know, that's like a special time when you're finding your own music. It was also spring of 2017, which I talked about in the Charlie XCX episode, was when I was really starting to figure out what I liked in music. I would consider that one of my biggest music discovery periods in my life, where I was like, I will listen to anything because I just want to hear new stuff. And this was one of those ones where I was like, this is not something I normally would have listened to or sought out. And I'm glad I did, because it's something that's super special to me. So yeah, this is a 4. And you kind of answered these questions, but I'll ask them anyway. Will you add any of these songs to playlists? And will you ever return to this album again?
Yeah, I won't return, and honestly, I probably won't add any. Obviously, if I do add a song, it would be In Motion, but even then, I feel like it would have to grow a little bit more in terms of my liking for it. So
maybe I'll make you a playlist and throw it in there, you know? We'll see.
I would actually enjoy that, getting a playlist from you.
Oh, well, maybe I have to do it now. And I'll ask the last question. Do you consider yourself a fan of Allday now?
I mean, sorry, but no.
Well, that's all right. You will have to listen to him at least one more time this season, because we will be doing Troye Sivan's album, which he's featured on one song there. And I'm very curious to hear what you think about it.
I am very, very curious and very surprised. I also will say, just because I'm not a fan does not mean that I don't respect. So yeah, there is also that.
That's good. You can be a fan of his comedy too.
I am a fan of his comedy because it actually is genuinely funny.
Yeah, I'll send you some of his TikToks. They're very strange.
Yeah, I don't know anyone else that would come up with a Coca-Cola areola. So yeah.
True. Yeah. And with that brings us to the end of the album, and we got a movie to talk about.
Whereas I had a more positive experience than I thought I would, I am pretty sure that Brandon had as bad of an experience as they thought that they would have, because we're talking about Brazil, which, for those of you who don't know, it's an English film, a British film to be specific, a British dystopian science fiction black comedy.
Yeah, we're really hitting all the major themes here.
The moment I thought of this film, I was like, this is perfect. Science fiction, I feel like you would not enjoy the type of science fiction here. Black comedy, British black comedy, perfect. You would not enjoy that. I literally like combined movies you didn't like from this year, aka science fiction, Blade Runner,
and Dune.
British black comedy, obviously, whatever that
Sexy
movie,
Beast.
Sexy Beast. I guess the only one that I didn't include was this dystopian, but
that's good enough. I mean,
2 out of 3.
I feel like Megalopolis is kind of dystopian, and we both hated that. So
that's true.
That's pretty good.
But I'm gonna throw the log line at you. So here we go. And this is, as usual, the IMDb logline. A bureaucrat in a dystopic society becomes an enemy of the state as he pursues the woman of his dreams.
Sure.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I guess that happens. Kind of, yeah.
The movie is directed by Terry Gilliam and produced by Arnon Milchan. And it's written by Terry Gilliam, Tom Stoppard, and Charles McEwen. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. The cinematography is by Roger Pratt. The film is edited by Julian Doyle, and the music is composed by Michael Kamen. It was distributed by Universal Pictures and is rated R. And it stars Jonathan Pryce, Kim Greist, Michael Palin, Robert De Niro, who I don't know if you were expecting him to pop up in this.
I saw his name listed, and that's the only reason I was expecting, but I kept waiting for a long time. I feel like it took a while for him to show up, and he wasn't in it as much as I thought he would be.
He has like a small supporting character. But hey, that's a little connection to Taxi Driver. And also Ian Holm, who is a connection to Lord of the Rings. He plays Bilbo. So there's that too. I wanted to ask you a question before I got into my notes, and that is, what do you know or what have you seen when it comes to Monty Python?
I have seen only pieces of them that my dad has shown me because he really likes them. And I don't know. I've never been insanely impressed by any of it. I would say that a lot of that is probably because it's British.
I can see that. Well, if you didn't know, Terry Gilliam is actually a member and I believe a co-creator of Monty Python. And he is known for being a member of that and also for his work as a director outside of Monty Python. I believe he left. I did not do notes on him specifically, just on the movie, but I felt that was important to bring up because he would eventually branch out into making movies and not being that involved with Monty Python anymore, I believe. And this was one of his earlier movies. And the whole idea came out of his imagination, his crazy imagination. Now, if you don't know, he is also famous for, or his movies are famous for having really bad productions because something always happens. He either always loses his financing or it goes over budget or both. So every single one of his movies has a crazy production story, including this one. So it should be fun. So let's get into it. As I said before, the idea came out of his head, and I actually have a quote from him where he said, quote, "I had this pile of ideas, which was a loose collection of scenes running to about 100 pages, end quote.
That sounds like the movie.
So he kind of worked on this. He worked on this with writer Chuck Alverson for a bit. It didn't really end up working that well. It seems like he had the ending of the film down, but he was kind of searching for what the rest of the film would be. It seemed like he was interested in telling a story where a man going insane at the end was actually the happy ending and not the sad ending, which we'll discuss if it is a happy ending or not. I did want to ask, could you think of any book that might have also influenced Gilliam when it came to the setting of the film?
I mean, my thought when watching the movie was Fahrenheit 451.
Close.
But
very close.
Okay.
It was actually 1984.
Okay, that's another good one. I haven't read that though, so,
Yes.
I didn't think of it.
Well, he also hadn't read it.
Seriously?
He was inspired by it, but he admitted to never having read it. I don't know if he read it after he made the film, but at that point in time, he had not read it. Although he very specifically was this is not set in the future. This is set in the in now, because the film was about, quote, the way we live now, end quote. He eventually started working with playwright Tom Stoppard to develop it further. Tom Stoppard is the person that came up with the whole Tuttle mix up. But eventually Gilliam would go on and work with Charles McEwan to kind of complete the script because he felt that Stoppard wasn't getting the characters. Now, there were a lot of names that were considered for the film. These included The Ministry, The Ministry of Torture, How I Learned to Live with the System So Far, and So That's Why the Bourgeoisie Sucks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not great. He eventually got the song for the name for the film Brazil from the song that's used in the film. The official title is Aquarela Brazil by Ari Barossa, but a lot of people in the UK just know it as Brazil, and that's what he went with. Now, he wrote the role of Sam Lowry for Jonathan Pryce, who was, known at this point in England. Problem is, it took quite a long time to write the script. Pryce was in his 20s when the script started to, be worked on, but eventually, by the time that the script was finished, he was in his 30s. And the way the character was written would not work with that. Gilliam even considered casting Tom Cruise instead, but he didn't want to test for the role. That would not have worked. Yeah, he was like, no. Yeah. No. So Gilliam just rewrote Lowry so that Price could still play him in his 30s, which that's only like 10 years. That's not that big of a difference. Now, some of the people that auditioned for Jill Layton included Jamie Lee Curtis, Michelle Pfeiffer, Ellen Arkin, and someone that we discussed on the podcast, a pop star. Can you guess who it was?
Madonna?
Yes, it was Madonna.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Honestly, I could see it.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe.
I could actually see it. Eventually, Kim Greist gave an excellent performance in her audition, so she was cast. That being said, it seems like Gilliam had trouble working with Greist and that he actually cut out a lot of her scenes for the final film and said that working with her drove home the point that, quote, experience really does count for something, end quote. So it seems like he ultimately was not really happy with her performance.
A British director who's kind of a maniac having a problem with a young woman who's an actor.
Anyways,
where have I heard this before?
Yeah, parallels. Anyways, now I don't have much about production.
Really,
because
that's crazy.
Most of the issue, as we will find out, is going to come from post-production. So buckle in. Yeah, I did want to say they shot in the UK and in France and were supposed to shoot for 20 weeks. Do you want to guess how many weeks they actually shot for? And by the way, 20 is a lot.
Yeah. Is it more or less?
It was more.
Okay.
I would say it wasn't like a crazy amount more, but it was more.
I'll go 34.
36. You got very close.
Oh.
But yeah, it definitely ballooned.
36. That is a lot and not a fun time.
It was because of Gilliam's perfectionism. And I think also De Niro's. I heard that they were supposed to shoot his stuff in 1 week and they ended up doing 2 because he was like, I can do it better, stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
But also because of the special effects, especially the flying scenes, that they really were hard to get in. But it still came in under budget, crazy enough.
Wow.
Who would have thought? Now let's talk about the real issues that are about to start. Because this was obviously being made at Universal, and when the final cut that Gilliam was working on was shown to Sid Sheinberg, who was the executive in charge of the film at Universal, he did not like it at all. He said it was too pessimistic and the ending was too bleak. Pretty much it was not commercial enough. And he was not going to release it. But Gilliam refused. So pretty much they started like an all-out war with each other while Sheinberg took over and re-edited the film into what would become known as the, quote, Love Conquers All version that had a happy ending. Now, Gilliam obviously wanted to release his version. So what he did to fight back was he took his cut of the film and he started to show it to movie critics in Los Angeles, and a lot of them really liked it. And they were like, why is it not being released yet? They started, like the rumor started to spread that Sid Sheinberg did not want to release a good film. Gilliam also took out a full-page ad in Variety that read, quote, Dear Sid Sheinberg, when are you going to release my movie? Signed, Terry Gilliam, end quote. He also appeared on Good Morning America. And when host Joan London asked, quote, I hear you're having trouble with the studio. Is this correct? End quote. Gilliam responded, quote, no, I'm having trouble with Sid Sheinberg. Here's an 8x10 photo of him, end quote, and showed a picture of Sheinberg on hair.
What the hell?
Which really irritated him. So he was just like doing everything he could to get his version of the film to release. And he was actually successful because finally Sheinberg was like, okay, you know what? Screw it. Here, release it. And they did. Came out December 18th, 1985. Yeah, same thing, same difference.
Before the invention of the camera.
And it bombed. It made $9 million on a budget of $15 million. But it did receive universal acclaim. A lot of critics noted the visuals, the satire, and the themes as standouts. It was nominated for 2 awards at the 58th Academy Awards, original screenplay and art direction, although it did not win any. And it has remained popular to this day. It's known as one of the best satires and one of the best satires in the dystopian genre specifically. A lot of people think it's Gilliam's best film and the biggest success of his career, considering the bad luck that he has had. Because I honestly don't even know if he's made a film that was not a box office bomb.
Damn.
So there's that. But with that, I have to ask you, how much did you and your dad, because I know your dad joined you, hate this?
Yeah, this was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now.
I knew you would not like this.
Yeah, without spoiling my score, I will say I disliked this more than Sexy Beast. So you outdid yourself this year in terms of a movie that pissed me off, because this was worse than a 2.
Did you expect to hate this much based off of my description of it?
Oh no, I expected this would be a 2 and I'd be like, wow, that sucked.
Wow.
This was like, it's rough.
We might as well just get into it. I have a guess as to what worked the least for you. And that's the story.
Well, you would be correct.
You want to talk about the story?
I mean, what's there to talk about? What is the story?
Yeah.
It's an unfocused disaster. I feel it harkens back to Blade Runner to me. It's like, okay, I kind of understand what they're trying to do, but ultimately it doesn't say anything really. And it feels incomplete. Like it doesn't resolve. The resolution is like he goes insane. Cool. Like I have no problem with somebody going insane as the ending to a movie, but it doesn't feel earned, which is kind of my main problem with it. It's just kind of like what you described him describing this movie as, which is 100 pages of like scenes and stuff. And that's kind of what it felt like, where it's just like, yeah, a bunch of stuff happens, but why? So I think that was kind of my main problem with it. I also will say, I don't think any of the performances here were bad. I thought they actually did quite a good job acting. So that was like something that saved it, that like kept my attention a little bit more, but it is not going to be reflected in my score, unfortunately, which I would like you to guess.
I will guess. I am guessing that it's a 1.
1 would be with Megalopolis, and I think Dangerous Liaisons I also gave a 1. That might have been a 1.5 though.
I feel good about that being there. I did want to ask because this is a film that's very much known for like the world that's created in it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get your thoughts on that and maybe how it works as a satire.
Yeah. I mean, as a satire, I feel like it kind of works. It's like, drowning in paperwork. There's government overreach everywhere, and there's only one company that can do each individual thing. It feels very much like a end stage capitalism kind of nightmare that we're living through right now in the US.
Yeah.
So like that I thought worked, and I thought the world building was fine. Like it makes sense to me, and I feel like they did a pretty good job of like it making it feel real almost. Like it felt focused.
The reason why I wanted to bring up those two elements, aka the story and kind of the world that and the satirical elements of this, is because I actually agree with you on both counts. Now, this is my second time watching this film, and the first time I gave it a 4.5. I was like, oh, this is great, et cetera, et cetera. Coming back to this several years later when I'm older and arguably know a little bit more about screenwriting, it was a really, really weird experience for me, because it was in some ways as good as I remembered, but in some ways it did not work, which kind of shocked me. And I remember after I finished watching the film for the second time, I went to Letterboxd and looked at reviews, and there was a review that stood out to me where someone wrote, "I'm so confused. How can a movie be this good and this bad at the same time?" And honestly, that is kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
To the point where I don't really know what to give it. When I rewatched it, I just kept that at a 4 because I was like, I just want to put a score down because I don't know what to put. But that's not the score I will be giving it. I will be changing it because I think that the world that this movie creates and the characters that are in it are actually exceptionally well done. And I think the performances are really beautiful, especially from a lot of the supporting cast. I think they fill it out really, really well, especially the mother. Ian Holm is amazing, although, I mean, he's amazing always. But I think the world is very beautifully built. Not only is it very detailed, like on the screen, but it tracks for like the dystopian version of the 80s very, very well. And it feels very realistic as to like what the 80s could have turned into or what now could have been if not for like the internet, which obviously they would not know about. But I think on those levels, it works exceptionally well. And I think it's a very powerful vision of what a modern day dystopia could look like. And I think it actually works very well as like a riff on 1984, even though he never watched or never read 1984. But the part that is just very, very weak is the story. It at once feels like not really present and also very overcomplicated, which kind of doesn't make sense because that's like two opposites.
But that's completely accurate. I feel the same way.
Yes. It's also a very simple story that doesn't translate to like the 2 hours and 40 something minutes.
Yeah.
Which is another big problem I have with it. So, I mean, going into this, I was like, oh yeah, Brandon's going to hate it. I'm going to love it. I ended up being just kind of lost because I honestly don't know what to give it. I am just like in the wind kind of.
The way you described it there, to me, sounds like a 3.5 to you, but I could also see it being a 3.
That's kind of where I was, but I've been kind of circling that and being like, should I not?
I mean, the other thing that I feel like you can do while I'm talking briefly is look through the other things we've watched on the podcast and be like, do I like this more or less?
That is a good point.
Because that's always what I do too. It's like, if I don't know what to give it, where does it slot in with the other movies that we've watched? And I'm like, oh yeah, is this... The one I often go to is Halloween. Is this worse or better than Halloween? I don't know why, but that's just one that I like always think of.
But before I do that, to just quickly wrap up my ramble, this was a really interesting experience for me because, you know, obviously I chose something that I thought that you would not like, which you did not.
Correct.
But I also kind of like conned myself into presenting something that I ended up being much more mixed on.
Yeah.
Than I thought that I was, which is just a really, really interesting experience. And I did not think that would happen. But honestly, like half an hour into the film, I remember thinking, wait a second, why did I give this a 4.5 the first time I watched this, honestly?
Interesting.
But yeah, it was kind of like a reawakening for me.
I was expecting more of you to be like, there is something more here that I thought I would like.
Well, I think there is a lot that is very well done. You know, those are the elements I talked about. But I think the big issue kind of is the story. And I think it's, you know, I think some people might point to it like, oh, wouldn't that be the same case with something like The Godfather? But for me personally, I would not consider it to be the same. I think that if you compared like the story of The Godfather to this story, it's light and day. One of them is well thought out. It has like a narrative engine. It, you know,
even if it is long and kind of convoluted, this is just kind of like a mess.
Yes, it still has some sort of structure, but this just doesn't really have one. It feels like a story of coincidences, which is like not something that is gonna work for me, at least. Maybe it'll work for someone else.
This is very interesting. I feel like this is the first time I've heard you talk negatively about story, and I agree with it. You know, I feel like I'm usually the one that's like, oh, the story sucked.
Yeah.
I hate it.
And it's interesting. I feel like a part of that is the fact that, you know, I'm maybe more used to the ways that stories were often told in like the 70s, for instance, with something like The Godfather. But that doesn't mean that you still shouldn't do it well, even if you're doing it in a different way. And I think that's kind of what happened here, where it, in my opinion, it is just not done well, while also being done in maybe a different way to how we tell stories now, which is, I don't know, it's very, very interesting. But I mean, that's kind of all I have to say about the film, to be honest. I'll throw it to you. What are your overall thoughts? I know we kind of talked about the story and the world, but
yeah, I mean, I'm going to spoil it right now. I don't have many overall thoughts, and I'm just going to kind of launch into this right now. So you brought up The Godfather, which I was not planning on talking about, but I'm going to talk about because it's a good example. I rated that movie a 3, and I said I have problems with the story, all of that stuff. I have problems with this story as well. 2.5 points different.
Wow.
Of problems. This is a 0.5. This is the worst thing that we've watched on the podcast for me.
I chose a good movie for you to watch.
You really did. And I would like to congratulate you on that because I was angry watching this and I have not felt this way. And that's why I didn't put Megalopolis at a 0.5 because I was like, I know someday there's going to be something that just pisses me off so much that I would have walked out of this movie or turned it off if it wasn't for this podcast because I had to see how it ended.
Right.
And that's that feeling that I want for a 0.5. And that's what this is. I hated this. That it feels harsh because there are parts of this movie that are okay. Like, I agree with you that I feel like the world building is actually pretty good. I think the performances are good. And that's why it feels weird to give it a 0.5. But the emotional reaction I had to this was just so overwhelmingly negative that I was like, I don't want to even think about this ever again. It has to be relegated to a special corner of my Letterboxd account that I will look back on and be like, oh my God, that was one of the worst things I've ever sat through. And I'm going to leave it with this. I had a realization the next day after watching this movie that I didn't know cult classics were supposed to be bad. I always thought a cult classic was like a movie that was like forgotten about, and there was something like there was a good story or there was like something really interesting about it that like it just did. It was ahead of its time or whatever.
Right. You just pissed off so many people.
Yeah. And now I'm realizing that I feel like all the movies that I've been told are cult classics, I have pretty much not liked or been like, okay, I see why they failed, like at the box office. Like this one is an instance of both where I was like, I hated this and I see why it failed. So yeah, and that's fine. I can piss off a lot of people with that. I stand by it though. Like I will open this up to you. Find me some cult classics that I'm going to like, I feel like.
Hey, I'll work on it.
Yeah, what I've noticed is I feel like the first thing to go with a cult classic movie is the story. And the story is the thing that I love the most about a movie, about a TV show, about any sort of piece of media, visual media. So this is rough. So anyway, 3 points between our scores.
Overall, I think this has been like maybe one of our most interesting episodes ever.
It was painful at times, I will tell you that. And I am in favor of not allowing David to do a British movie for next season's version of this episode. And I will agree that I won't do a rap album for him next season.
I am not going to choose one just because I want you to like survive another season. You know?
Oh, I will survive because we have some great things coming up. Like, don't worry about that. And the other good thing was this, like, we paired such a bad movie for me with an album that I really loved. I gave, like, this is literally the full spectrum. I gave out 3 5s and a 0.5 this episode. I don't think either one of us has ever had this big of a gap between the scores and the things we've watched and listened to.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point that I didn't even think about.
Yeah, so that kept me going.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like you had an episode full of absolute opposites, while I had an episode of just being in the middle the whole time and being kind of confused. You need a little bit of both, I think.
Exactly. We covered literally all of our bases this episode. But with that, this is the end of season 2's episode where we show something to each other that we think the other person is going to hate. And I got to say, I think we did a pretty good job this year.
Oh yeah, I agree. I will say I'm happy with how low I got you to go.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily happy about it, but I am happy in a way that I will have my first 0.5 on Letterboxd because I haven't had one.
Right.
Yet. So
true. There we go.
There's a first for everything, and I feel like this was a pretty good first for a movie that I despised. Hopefully, audience members listening to this, you listened, you watched, and you hated one of these things and you loved one of these things. That's my goal, is that you are also split like us. Maybe you liked both, maybe you hated both. That's also okay, but I would really hope that one or the other happens, like you liked one at least a little bit.
I am also cementing Brazil as a 3.5 officially.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll throw it out there. Yeah.
I support. I think that about wraps up the episode. We'll have one of these episode 4 of season 3. So it'll be around this time next year too. So I think that's something to look forward to, because this is a fun episode, because I think it makes us the most angry of any episode that we do every year.
Oh yeah. We sink to new lows every single time we do this episode, which, hey, it's only twice, but still.
I think I need to start thinking about what I'm going to do next year for you.
I mean, I got to really rack my brain because I can't go the easy route of just choosing something British and that's a black comedy.
If you want to see what we're thinking about, what we're maybe doing next week, there's a place for that. And it's our Instagram at Uncultured Pop Culture. You can follow us there. The post will be up right now when you're listening to this about what we're watching and listening to for next week.
You can literally listen to us and check out that Instagram at the same time.
And David, if the people want to get in contact with us, where do they do that?
I mean, if you guys want to get in contact with us, you can literally email us directly at upcpod@gmail.com. Tell us your thoughts. Tell us what you liked about our ratings, what you hated about our ratings. I feel like we'll get maybe something for this episode. And hey, send over some questions. Who knows? If we get questions, maybe we could do a special mailbag episode one day in the far future.
And if you're like me and you're scared of emailing, or maybe you are also like me and you've run out of space on your Google Drive and you can no longer send or receive emails, you can also leave a comment on Spotify, or you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That also helps the show. Give us a rating and tell your friends and family. Tell your enemies and any person who has expressed interest in visiting Australia at any point in their life. I feel like they might like this episode as well.
And hey, if you tell anyone British about the podcast, tell them not to get too mad at us for this episode.
Yeah, maybe we'll even be listening to something British next week and I will redeem myself as usual.
That's right.
But I guess you'll never know if you don't check out that Instagram. So
see you next week.